When they said it was a little girl, I just felt this really amazing, warm feeling. I've had a little girl. She was absolutely gorgeous. She was bright, playful, affectionate. She was cheeky, everything you could want. She was absolutely gorgeous, and it was a very happy time. We were a very lucky family, but I didn't really feel lucky. I just had what everyone else seemed to have: a home, 2 kids, my husband, his job, a car. We saved for a holiday, we tried to do the house up. It all just felt very normal, and we just took it all for granted. The kids were doing really well. Nicola was coming on lovely. She was feeding herself. She was just happy and content. We were in and out doing different things as a family. It just felt fine. We took the kids up the Leaky Hills one day and wrapped them up warm. It was very cold. Nicola looked really grumpy. In fact, we were laughing at how grumpy she looked. We popped her in a swing, which she usually loved. This didn't cheer her up. She just scowled at us. When we walked in the door to home, she dropped to the floor and she started twitching. Her face began to grimace and she was making strange twitching noises and flickering her eyes. She was having a fit. Quickly we rushed her to the hospital with her in our arms. Life was never to be the same again. It wasn't a straightforward journey for us as a family down the road of autism. Nicola developed bowel problems. She became severely constipated. She had constant ear infections, multiple courses of antibiotics. She started to restrict her own diet. She would only eat certain foods and she started to scream. She would go to bed screaming. She would wake up screaming. She could tantrum all day. It was relentless. She stopped babbling away. She wasn't able to use a spoon anymore. She seemed to be slipping away. All the things she could previously do, she stopped doing. She became absolutely terrified of everything. She was frightened of the ceilings. She dropped to the floor cowering. She couldn't cope with noise. She couldn't cope with people. She stopped watching television. She just seemed to be slipping away each day. I felt as though someone had come in the night and stolen my beautiful baby away and left behind this little wild animal. She didn't know who I was. She didn't know how to be safe or content or just to be. She was absolutely terrified, and so was I. When she was diagnosed at 2 years 4 months as severely autistic, I just simply crawled into a ball and cried. We were falling apart as a family. I didn't know how to reach her or pull her back. I needed some practical help. I needed someone to come into the house and show me how to cope with her, show me what to do each day to get through it as she banged her head against the floor and against the walls, as she ran at me, trying to bite me and scratch me. I needed help. We were determined to try and help Nicola, to ease her suffering, to connect with her. We used our life savings and we started a home-based education program. We employed people to come into the house, to connect with Nicola, to help her understand very simple instructions, to begin to teach her gradually how to play. We took her to see a nutritionist. We changed her diet. It felt like I was trying to save Nicola and my whole family from this abyss. Actually, we did improve Nicola's bowels. She stopped needing constant courses of antibiotics. Her constipation improved. Her red cheeks and red ears went away. She stopped screaming all night. Gradually her diet began to improve. She started to accept foods. She stopped restricting her diet, and she started to notice us again. We learned to accept that she was severely autistic and this was not going to go away. I needed to accept this, and I needed to learn to live with it. We as a family have learnt to accept autism in our lives. In fact, you can get quite good at accepting this and just getting through the day. I've become good at this. You put your head down and you get through it. You learn to not wake up in the morning and think, what shall we do today? You learn to wake up and think, what can we do today? It's difficult as a mum to even understand other mums' experiences. When they tell you about their child, you think, well, that doesn't sound too bad. But in actual fact, it's what you do all the time. It's not what you do today, it's what you do every day. It is the relentlessness. And it's this what sometimes just feels too hard. I never felt I would live with violence in my home. I never thought it would ever be something I would ever accept. But when it's coming from your child, it is domestic violence. It just seems like another thing to have to cope with. There have been some really, really difficult times when I've actually thought it is not humanly possible to sustain this. With all the will and all the love in the world, I have felt I just can't keep going. I have had some very black thoughts. But when I look at Nicola and I know how much she needs me and how much I love her, you just keep managing. Somehow, as a family, we have learnt to manage and to get by. We have learnt to think about things differently, to pre-arrange things, to plan carefully, to be organised, to ensure that what we attempt to do as a family, we are realistic about what we can manage together. And we see little steps as achievements, and we do celebrate these. And we do love Nicola. We do look at her and feel enormous pride for what she's managed to cope with and the things that she's managed to learn to do. Even putting her shoes away, going getting her coat. These are all achievements for Nicola, and we are enormously proud of her. Communication is absolutely essential for Nicola. We need to do everything in pictures so she can understand what is going to be happening next. She has a few Makaton signs and she can point. She's very, very noisy, but she doesn't have any words. Through pictures we can reach Nicola and we can communicate with her through pictures. It's absolutely essential. It has been a struggle to find things for Nicola to do outside of being at home with the family. It does feel sometimes like these children they're not seen, they're almost invisible. She's not the child you would see at David and Victoria Beckham's party. She would not be able to cope with that, and they would certainly not be able to cope with her. Nicola hasn't got any friends. She doesn't go to people's houses for tea. And when I'm out, sometimes it does feel like there's so much hostility and intolerance to understanding the way she behaves and the things that she struggles to cope with. And it does feel like it's very difficult for her to have things and do things like other children.